an overview of the budget. As Mr. Driscoll pointed out, the increase is $896,000, 2.51%. It's a pretty reasonable increase. We put this budget together knowing, as I mentioned earlier, the fiscal conditions of the town and the state and the U.S. government, for that matter, all our funding sources. And we tried to only increase it by what we had to. If there was a contract in place that forced us to, if there was a regulation in place, or if a student showed up with a particular need, we had to budget those and fund those. But there certainly was nothing beyond that in the budget. As you can see, the 2.5% increase is almost what the salary increase would be for the contracts we have in place. We did make an assumption, as mentioned earlier, that the town would fund the schools to cap the 5% cut in state aid to education. Each percent in state aid is about $44,000, so that's about $220,000 or so. The original budget, I say original because we've had some changes since our original budget was submitted, included level staffing and included salary adjustments for the contracts that were in place, and all of our contracts are in place except for the teacher's contract, which expires August 31st of 2010. The rest would all run through either June or August of 2011. So those raises were in place. My understanding is those unions took freezes last year, an extension for an extension of the contract, and that's what was implemented this year. After the original budget was submitted, there was an additional review of the Elmhurst Elementary School, and there was a you should call it a motion passed by a school committee that closed the school, and you'll see that there are the financial ramifications of that initiative further down the budget. So the budget was submitted in March with a gap of $583,089. We have been trying to close the gap ever since we submitted the budget at that time. And you can see we have what the closing of Elmhurst has meant to closing the gap. There's been a net reduction in staff. That would be the reduction of the Elmhurst staff plus the fractions of staff that were added back to the other schools to compensate for the students. Really just fractions in the middle school particularly. So we had a reduction of staff of $318,000. The maintenance and custodial supplies and utilities, we took the whole budget for that building is about $155,000. We realized that the building will be open for a few months of the fiscal year. We realized that some of the costs would be shifted to the schools where the students are going. We realized there'd probably be some costs as we started to phase out of the building. So we didn't take 100% of the budget, but we took $116,000 of it. So we figured about $25,000, $35,000 to run the building till we're finished. Educational materials, most of that did go with the students where they were going, but we did keep back 10% or so, less than that, maybe 1% or 2%, to reduce the budget. We would not be insuring the building for the entire year. But there were some additional one-time costs, the $45,000 that were netting out of that, movers, I have a list, but you know, to close the building up, to move the building. And the additional recurring costs, this is because there would be some transportation involved. We have at $249,000, and that's to add 3 buses, which we're still not sure we'll be adding, so we're hopeful that we can get that number to 2 or 1. We're working with the bus company and trying to figure out the best solutions for some of the busing issues, but we think we have 3, and that's the worst case. Hopefully we can have a little less than that. An additional monitor time, because elementary school students will be riding some middle school buses. There'll have to be monitors on those buses. So we increased all of our monitors' time by an hour and a half a day in this scenario. We work with the bus company. We work with the foreman of the bus monitors. And we feel we can cover it with that. And of course, if there's 3 more buses, we had to add 3 more monitors. So that's the $249,580. So I think it says it someplace else in the presentation, but it's about $155,000. There's $155,000 for year 1 reductions in the 2011 year for the closing of Elmhurst. And we think reoccurring costs at this time are about $200,000 a year. And we do think if we can do better with the buses, if we can refine our bus routes and save some hours for the bus monitors. And as we have students grouped in the remaining 2 elementary schools, there likely will be some efficiencies in the way some special ed services are delivered. By having the students in only 2 buildings rather than 3, your fractions will be less because you'll save on travel time. So we think there are some efficiencies and savings that we haven't actually even realized yet that we'll know as we get closer to the opening of the school. Additional savings to close the gap. when we put our budget together, we were out to bid for our transportation contract, and we had in there an increase about 8% because we hadn't went out to bid for at least 5 years. And other districts were getting, around the state, were getting pretty significant increases with the changes in fuel. So we had budgeted that type of number, and we went out to bid. The state helped us do this with the East Bay. We gave, we asked for three scenarios. One was just us in Newport. One was all the East Bay groups, except Middletown and East Providence. And then the bus company put their own one together that was all the East Bay groups with East Providence and Middletown. And we got an excellent bid. We're going to be coming to the school committee Tuesday, asking them to approve the contract. It would be the contract that has us with all the East Bay except East Providence and Middletown, because they chose not to partake at this time. And the rate is almost exactly the same as it is now. There's many factors. There's the rate of the bus, there's the pay for the driver, there's overtime for the driver, there's mileage. So those all went up a little bit, but the actual rate for the bus is about the same. So we were able to reduce, long story short, we were able to reduce our increase, which we had at $138,000, down by $100,000 down to $38,000. And we'll keep working that to see if maybe we can get another $10,000 or $15,000 out of there. But right now we took the 100. We feel that's a very safe reduction, and we're going to look for a better cut as we go forward. After the budget was submitted, we continued to review our enrollment in our programs, and we were able to reduce our budget by 3 teachers. And then we had a little better price. Our rubbish contract was out to bid as well, and we had a little better price on that, so we were able to reduce that by $5,500. Now, things like rubbish and groundskeeping that are associated with Elmhurst are in that Elmhurst line. I didn't list them all separately, but they're in there as a group. So the budget gap tonight, so far anyway, is $141,901. And so we made some progress there, and we hope to continue to make progress as the days go by. Everyone has the budget book, so I'm going to go through these unless someone minds quickly. But these are our largest items in the budget. As I mentioned earlier, the salaries and the benefits, they're about 80% of our budget. So the budget we submitted had $20 million, $20.9 million of salary in there, an increase of $481,000, 2.36%. And that was to satisfy all of our existing labor agreements, which had increases of 2.5% in there. And that's what it was. And the cuts that we just mentioned as we try to close the gap actually total, as you can see, $498,000 in salaries. So we managed, at this point in time, our salary line is less than it was last year by $17,000 due to the reduction in staff, even with all those raises in there. The employee benefits, this is a bugger. I think everybody's struggling with this one. We have original budget of $8 million, $8,017,000, an increase of $621,000. Health insurance, 14%. You can see it's $517,000. I think that's a problem that the town's dealing with as well. Seems we had an unfortunate year with our usage, the experience rating. We had a lot of large claims, more than you think we should have at this time. So we are obviously have that budgeted. We are looking at ways to maybe some options to present to our workforce that maybe would reduce that cost in the future, but certainly not right now. And we're making sure that all the folks who have health insurance are eligible health insurance. We're going to start doing a recertification for part of our workforce to make sure that all the family plans are correct, all the siblings are correct, all the spouses are correct, making sure no one has health care for a dependent unless they're paying income tax on it, and that should reduce some of the workforce there. So what we're trying to do is make sure that everybody that we're paying health care for has health care, and we're trying to find some good plans that would make the workers partners, if you will, so they would think twice maybe before they used it a little bit. And we're trying to just, have less folks on and try and get less care required. I'm not trying to shortchange the folks, just trying to get a better product out there for everyone.